past week. Larry and I know that because we came from below zero weather, but today the weather could not be better here in Tucson. We have a little bit of a breeze, but the sun is shining and the temperature is going to reach the low 70s. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for today's NASCAR Winston West race. Gary Collins on the pole, just shy of the track record. Sean Woodside alongside. Then Gary Smith and Joe Bean, Butch Gilliland and Scott Gaylord, Bill McAnally and Dan Obrist, Bill Sedgwick and Kevin Culver, and starting 11th is Lance Wade. The second 11, Ron Esau, Wayne Jacks, Larry Gunselman, Lou Miller, Ron Burns, Kenny Smith, Chuck Pruitt, Billy Kahn, St. James Davis, Tim McCauley, and David Gilliland. Let's take a look now at the race procedures. We'll have two 75-lap segments, just as in our other winter heat telecast this year. At the 75-lap mark, the cars will go back into the pit area, and the crews may work on the cars and change all 4 tires. The drivers are either using Goodyear or Hoosier tires here this afternoon, and the Winston West Series is scored just as the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, and this race can end under yellow, unlike the NASCAR Southwest Tour Series.
And this field is split pretty evenly between the Goodyears. I think there are 10 Goodyears and 12 Hoosiers in the race today.
They're racing for over $48,000. The pole speed was 88.1, and the track record 88.3.
It was a pretty fast field. The first 18 cars, I think, were all within about 0.6 of a second of each other. So the first 18, at least, are very, very quick and very, very close.
Well, the Winston West specs indicate that these cars are a 110-inch wheelbase. They weigh 3,400 pounds, and there is some variation on that, Larry.
Yes, there is some variation in that. If you have a 9.5 to 1 compression ratio engine, you must weigh 3,400 pounds. If you have an open compression, if you run 14 to 1 compression, then you must weigh 3,500 pounds. You get a 100-pound penalty if you want to run higher compression. Everybody thought that on the big tracks like Las Vegas, it would be an advantage to have more compression and more weight. But Kenny Schrader went there and blew them away with the 9.5 to 1. So I think some guys are changing their minds about that right now.
Absolutely. And one very important thing you saw there on the bottom, they are running the bias ply tires and not the radials. We do have an in-car camera for you this afternoon. That's driven by Bill McAnally from Alberta, California, driving the Napa Monte Carlo, starting in 7th position. The tether cam is overhead once again here this afternoon. The CarQuest Auto Parts tether cam is about 300 feet above the racetrack. You can see the shadow of it there, and it will be following the action from us, for us from a camera that is up there in the air, but is operated by John Hayes, who's down on the ground. We're just about ready to start this event. The pace car will be pulling off. Up front, it's Gary Collins and Sean Woodside. Gary Smith and Joe Bean are in row number 2. Woodside and Smith are both rookies, so we have 2 of the top 4 starters, rookies in the 97 NASCAR Winston West Series, and the green flag is out. We are racing.
It'll be interesting to see how the rookies handle a start like this. It's probably the most important race that they've been in, the one that they've been looking forward to. Collins jumps out into a big lead, but rookies are hanging right behind him.
Sean Woodside running in 2nd position. Then it's Gary Smith who's in 3rd. The battle side by side is for 4th position.
Yeah, that's Scott Gaylord down on the inside of Butch Gilliland, so we already have a car pulling into the infield.
That would be the number 80 car of Tim McCauley from Huntington Beach, California, the McCauley Motorsports Lumina. He's in the infield and may be out of the race already as everything gets down into single file formation now for the most part, back through the top 10. That is Gary Collins leading Sean Woodside as they come around to complete lap number 3. And here's a 3-wide battle. On the outside there in 95 is Lance Wade. Wayne Jacks in the middle, and on the inside is Ron Esau in the red car number 3.
And that car that Ron Esau is in, he only got that ride early this morning. He didn't even know he was going to be running here. He's been working on that car actually for Joe Bean. When Joe Bean got here, he got another ride, and he got to run the 3 car, and he's taking advantage of it as he's doing a nice job down on the inside of Wayne Jacks.
Gary Smith trying to take 2nd position away from Sean Woodside. He's using the low side of the racetrack, and he's going to have success. Gary Smith moves to 2nd position, and now Gaylord comes up in that 00 car to challenge Woodside for 3rd.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going to do that too. I think maybe Sean Woodside's just taking the idea or the attitude that he's going to take it easy. He doesn't have to win this race the first few laps. On the other hand, Gary Smith, obviously that race car feels very, very good to him. That's the car that won this race last year, so obviously it's a good race car.
What a tremendous amount of pressure must be on Sean Woodside taking over this excellent car, the 07 car that Hooper won the championship in last year. We, of course, have seen Sean Woodside more than once in our Winter Heat Series the past couple of years. We know he's a good race driver, but you would imagine that he's got a little bit more pressure on him here this afternoon. And another car pulls to the infield. That would be, or actually to the pit area on the outside of the track. That would be David Gilliland in car number 1. Here's your field summary, and the numbers in parentheses indicate where they start.
You know, one other thing to note here, too, is that the two cars that look identical are the Golden West Motorsports cars, the 07 with Sean Woodside in it, but Joe Bean is in the number 7. The team bringing 2 cars in here, get a little bit of experience and start the season with 2 cars. Again, they are identical. Could be ended up running together here very shortly.
Yeah, one of them is running 4th, one is 6th, and now Gary Smith is trying for the lead. This young man has things hooked up.
He certainly does. Way down on the bottom of the racetrack. This is where it gets real narrow coming off. Both of them give each other a lot of room, and right now, Smith way down on that bottom side, a lot shorter, but without the banking to help him, it really makes it tough to get around somebody down there.
The turns increase in banking as you go up the track. There's a lot more at the top than on the bottom, and Gary Collins is having some success fighting off the challenge of Smith. In fact, Smith decides to fall in behind him, and now here comes Gaylord in the 00 car.
He moved down, but he moved to the middle of the racetrack. 3 different bankings on 3 different parts of the racetrack. So he chooses to use the middle, so instead of going clear to the bottom, and he gets around Gary Smith.
The 38 car of Butch Gilliland has moved into 4th, and now Sean Woodside is back to the 5th position.
Very close 5th, I might add.
Yeah, he's hanging right in there. 13 make that 14 laps have now been completed in the first NASCAR Winston West race of 1997. Gary Collins, your leader, back in just a moment. Heat schedule. And we are racing the NASCAR Winston West Series this afternoon. Gary Collins in the blue, car number 28, has the lead at the moment. The battle is for 5th position. That would be Bill Sedgwick in car number 9 and Bean in number 7.
Yeah, and Sedgwick, again, he only got this ride this morning as well. He went out and tested a little bit. He wasn't sure. He didn't know the race car. He wasn't sure he wanted to drive it if it wasn't going to be a competitive race car. He went out and tested and said, hey, this thing feels pretty good. I am going to run it. And right now, he's moved forward. He started back in 9th spot. I think he's up to about 6th or 7th right now.
Gary Blatchley is the owner of the car and sometimes drives it. Craig Rayburn was ready to drive it, but as Larry said, Sedgwick got in and said, hey, this thing can win the race. So he's in the cockpit, and he's doing a fine job. The car being lapped, by the way, there is the number 19 of Billy Kahn, who races out of Tempe, Arizona.
It's quite a battle as they get into lap traffic, and you can see that Sedgwick was kind of the loser in that little fracas there with the lap car. He fell back a few car lengths, but it doesn't take him long to get right back up on Joe Bean's rear bumper again.
Joe Bean in car number 7, just from San Diego, California.
He got that ride this morning as well. I mean, there's all sorts of stories here about how these guys got the ride, but he and Sean Woodside both tested for this team. They at different times they chose to give the ride to Sean Woodside, so he was very disappointed he didn't get it. They got here today. They said, well, we've decided to run a 2-car team. You want to be the new guy. So they both tested. One thought he lost, one thought he won. They both won, it turns out.
Gary Collins now is lapping slower traffic. He just lapped Lance Wade in car number 95. Now there is Scott Gaylord in the 00 car, and the 45 is Gary Smith, and that would be 2nd and 3rd position.
And Gary Smith, though, took a dive real low in turn 1 in an attempt to get underneath him, but kind of got pinched off, so he's fallen back in line behind Gaylord. Collins, meantime, you can tell that he's been on this racetrack in this Winter Heat Series earlier in the series in a couple of races. He's smooth, he's knowing his way around here, and doing well with the 28 car up front.
Well, Gary told me earlier, Larry, that he brought an older car here. He thinks that the newer cars are built specifically for the radial ply tires. So he brought a car that was older and built for the bias ply, and he thinks it's going to be to his advantage. Right now, it looks like his bet's paying off pretty well.
There's Scott Gaylord still in 2nd position and about 6 or 7 car lengths behind the leader of the race, Gary Collins. Scott Gaylord His best Winston West finish here at Tucson was 11th in 1995. He was one of 7 Winston West drivers that went over to Suzuka, Japan last year, and he finished 19th in that race. Here's Woodside and the 38 of Butch Gilliland, and this would be 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, Woodside was up underneath Gilliland a couple of times here for a lap or two. He's looking to try and get on by at the moment. He's falling back in line to resize up the situation.
St. James Davis, you see there at the top of your screen, he takes the number 22 car into the pit area. That car, by the way, is a Buick, and St. James says, as far as he knows, about the only Buick that's racing nowadays, at least in this type of racing.
What tells how old the car was? He admitted the nose on it was a 1990 nose, so they haven't made any since then, so they can't get anything any newer. This is quite a battle for 4th that we were just watching there a second ago. This guy's really going after it.
Butch Gilliland started 3rd, and Sean Woodside started in 2nd position.
That was a string of poles for Butch Gilliland that got broken today. Butch had 5 of the 7 poles in these Winston West races that have run here at this racetrack.
37 laps have been completed, and again, they'll take a break at the halfway point, lap number 75, and so far we have been all green and some good competition.
Well, Sean Woodside trying to use the lap traffic to his advantage. Couldn't do it as he got snapped back there. Now that he pulls way down on the bottom, tries to go around, and he does use it to his advantage. I thought he got trapped up there behind the lap car, but he didn't. He shot a big shot down across the bottom of the racetrack, kind of a little slide job down under him, and pulled off the pass. And
we saw the pass from the onboard camera of Bill McAnally, who was getting lapped, but it showed us some great shots of how Woodside went to the inside and was able to pick up that position. Here's another angle of that pass. We'll see exactly how Sean was able to do it.
Watch him right here. He's way on the top of the racetrack. Looks like he gets trapped behind that lap car. All of a sudden, he just turns that thing left sharp, right down across the white line at the bottom. He gets a good run and just blows on by him going into turn 1.
I thought there was more contact than there was, but that replay didn't show a great deal. I thought they rubbed fenders pretty hard, but that was not the case. There is the leader of the event. That is Gary Collins, and right now he has things pretty much to himself as he's lengthened his lead over Scott Gaylord to almost a half a straightaway. Gary Smith is 3rd, followed by Woodside and Butch Gilliland. Way Park, the final event of the ESPN NASCAR Winter Heat Series, and the caution flag has just come out because of debris over in turn number 3. Well, it's the first ever 24-hour all-sports news network. It is ESPN News. And if you don't have it, call your local cable operator or your satellite provider and tell them you want ESPN News for highlights, news, notes, and the latest press conferences 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the caution comes out on lap number 47, giving us a break from the speed that we had seen since the green flag dropped.
Yeah, there are 14 cars still on the lead lap, so there's, you know, several guys. Well, at least 14 of them running pretty daggone fast, so they couldn't keep up. And the guys right up front, the first 6 cars are really running all on the same straightaway, even though Collins jumped out there to about a half a straightaway lead right near the end. The other guys were still on the same straightaway with him, so it's very, very competitive.
Now that advantage is gone, there are 3 cars, 3 lap, make that 1 lap car between 1st and 2nd, then another lap car between 2nd and 3rd. Let's go down to Rick DeBrule.
I want to talk about Scott Gaylord's situation. His right front tire has been smoking almost this entire race. He radioed back to the crew saying the car feels fine. It's just got that smoking tire. As a result, he's actually been trying to baby the car as much as possible. He's really looking forward to the mid-race break so they can go back, take a look, see what they need to do, make an adjustment so they can solve whatever problem it is. That way he can get back out for that second half of the race and do some serious racing. His best finish so far in this series is a 2nd place. He's anxious to finally break into the winner's circle.
His best finish in the points in the series was last year. He finished in 5th position.
Yes, and smoking right front tire usually means that car's got a little bit of a push in it, and he's got to be very, very careful. He's got to drive it very gingerly so that he doesn't burn that right front off, because if he burns it off, if he really gets it too hot, then he's going to go straight backwards.
You know, as the cars come to the line, they were saying 1 at the line. Oh, yes, they are going to say 1 at the line here. The 2nd car in line, the number 78 of Chuck Pruitt out of Lakeport, California, with the Golden Gate racing team on it. It says Golden Gate Meat Company on the side. Hey, Benny, that was your steak.
yeah, that was right.
That we're going to eat, by the way.
They said they furnish all the finest restaurants in all of San Francisco with steaks. So if you go up there and you get a steak, you're probably buying it from these guys right here.
Yeah.
And by the way, that car has a Childress engine in it, driven by Chuck Pruitt from San Francisco. We're ready to go green once again. The pace car pulling off. The lap cars getting to the inside of the track. And here they come around for the restart. And Gary Collins picks up the pace, and we're racing once again.
Gary Collins got a terrific start, jumped off the 3 or 4 car length lead. Scott Gaylord just couldn't keep up with him, and Gary Smith, because of the lap traffic on the inside, he didn't have much chance either to make much of a dent in Gaylord's lead either.
Woodside running back in 4th position, and Gilliland is 5th. Field summary for you. Scott Gaylord has moved to 2nd from 6th position, and Sean Woodside has fallen a couple from the outside of the front row back to 4th, and Butch Gilliland and Gary Smith are running in the same positions that they started.
I think Woodside has done a nice job, though. He's run a very smart race. He hasn't overextended himself. He knows it's 150 laps. As long as he's got him inside, he's going to be okay.
Scott Gaylord now has ideas of taking the lead away here. He goes to the bottom side of the racetrack. Cannot make the pass, however.
There's first 4 cars right in a line, all battling each other.
There's another driver that's really come through the field well, the number 37 of Larry Gunselman. Larry Race, you said at the top of the show that he's one of the drivers coming back this year from last year. He's worked well through the field and is about to crack into the top 5 here.
Good battle for 2nd. That's Gary Smith down on the inside in the red number 45, and he comes off the corner in 2nd place. Let's see if he can hold it. I believe he can.
Yeah, he had enough room. He could just slide up and take that groove away from Gaylord, which is exactly what he did. They told him he had enough room. He moved right up in front of him, and once you get that little bit of room, they got to give way. They got to let you go.
Good to see his dad, Roy Smith, back in the pit area this morning. Roy, of course, was a 4-time NASCAR Winston West Series champion, 80, 81, 82, and 88. And it looks like his son, Gary, is going to follow well in his father's footsteps.
Yeah, and I think that smoking right front tire is beginning to tell a little bit on Gaylord's car. Now then we see that he's also getting passed again by Sean Woodside as he takes him on the inside. And I think maybe that little bit of a push that he had earlier is getting worse and worse as this race goes along.
He definitely is anxiously awaiting 15 more laps in the halfway break.
Ooh, we got some smoke out of Butch Gilliland's car.
Yes, we do. Gilliland was putting out some pretty heavy smoke. Meanwhile, up front, a good battle for the lead as Gary Smith is down on the inside of Gary Collins at the line. Collins with about a half a car length advantage, but now into turn 1. Let's see what happens.
Boy, he really moves him up the racetrack right there. It gets very narrow coming off the corner. When one guy's running low, one guy's running high. Coming off, both those grooves kind of meet in one spot. And both guys doing a nice job not to get into each other. But I'm going to tell you, he can't run down there for very many laps, or he's going to burn those tires up, get them way too hot. So he's got to get it done pretty quickly.
Sean Woodside has moved up to watch this battle for the lead. In 3rd position, there's contact between Smith and Collins in the 4th corner, and they continue to run wheel to wheel out there.
Smith is just not going to give up. Collins is not going to give up as he just really hangs in there when Smith gets down on the inside of him.
And look who else is creeping into the picture here, Sedgwick in the number 9.
We saw some smoke from Butch Gilliland's car. Rick, what's going on?
In talking with his son David, who is now back over on the wall with headsets, talking to his dad on the two-way, apparently Butch can in some contact with Larry Gunselman. As a result, one of the tires is smoking. They're confident, though, it's nothing serious. They can work on during the mid-break race, and as a result, get him back out into the competition in a great way.
Well, he's got a donut on the other side of the car, and a little bit of damage there you see on the driver's side also.
Well, there is a little bit of contact. You can't help on a racetrack of this size. You're going to touch people once in a while. As long as it's not heavy contact, it doesn't really bother them too much. They're used to that.
McAnally carrying our onboard camera, and the 19 of Billy Kahn have been swapping paint out there too. Let's see what happens as they run side by side down the backstretch.
You can see right there from that in-car shot how close you run, and you have to run that close through the corners in most cases in order to have any kind of a chance of getting around the driver. front of you.
Boy, we have got about, what, 7 cars, 8 cars that...
Look at this, 3 abreast.
Yeah.
3 abreast going through the middle of the corner. Oh, Woodside has to get out of the throttle because he's going to be in the middle of that sandwich if he doesn't.
Discretion, the better part of valor there, as Woodside said, okay, I'll back out. I'll let you guys go. Now the battle is for second as Gilliland on the inside has Gary Smith to his outside. Gilliland takes second position, so that body damage that he has isn't causing serious problems. When they come around, there'll be 5 more laps to the halfway point.
Well, see, Gilliland is one of the guys who's taking advantage. I mean, he's getting faster as the race goes on, whereas other guys like Gaylord are going backwards as the race goes along. So it's really worked his advantage. The race goes longer and longer. The other guys are wearing their tires out. His are coming in. His stagger is just better than theirs right now.
Collins and Gilliland, first and second. Smith is third. Woodside fourth, then Bill Sedgwick up to 5th position.
Yeah, those first 5 or 6 guys are all running very, very close to each other, I'll tell you. And as Larry said a while ago, coming back from 14th starting spot, Gunselman's right in the middle of things now.
He sure is. There's a lot of lap traffic now to go around here in the next 3 laps before we reach the halfway point. There is the 28 car of Collins going to the inside of McAnally, putting another lap on him. Now they come up on Lance Wade in the white number 95. And uh-oh, there's contact. And Gary Collins spins around.
There goes
and
Smith.
There's contact between Collins and the 45 of Gary Smith.
What a tough break for both those guys. Both ran side by side most of this race, or a lot of this race. Made no contact or very little contact with each other, but once Collins spun, and we got another car spinning right down here in front of us.
We sure do. The number 25 of Kevin Culver spun here on the front stretch. He's headed in the right direction already. And the good news is that neither Smith nor Collins lost a lap in that fracas. And so they remain on the lead lap, but there is damage to both of their cars. Let's take a look at what happened.
Well, they're coming off of through the corner right now. You can see that Smith, he's in the back. He got hit by Wayne Jack, or yeah, that's Gunselman that hit him. When all the commotion was going up in front of him, he got out of the throttle. Gunselman just hit him. But let's take a look at what happened to the 2 lead cars. You can see right here, just very, very slight contact. It certainly was not intentional, but boy, once you get hit running at this speed, and you're running right on the edge anyway, these cars probably getting a little loose with the worn tires by that point. Tough, tough break for Gary Collins.
I mean, you see the damage on the rear here of the Gary Smith car, too, the Tootsie Toy. I guess if you're going to have this happen, now's the time.
Yeah, exactly. This is a great time because now then they can go in and work and do whatever they need to do to get them back. And you can see right there the smoke is really pouring out right there.
And the red flag has come out, so we have reached the halfway point, and the cars head for the pit area. Rick DeBrew will have reports back there when we return to NASCAR Winter Heat and the Winston West 150 from Tucson Raceway Park. Sean Woodside, Larry Gunselman, Scott Gaylord, and Dan Obrist. However, we do hear that NASCAR is going to put Gilliland at the back of the field because of the contact that he had with Collins there in the closing stages of the first half. There are the second 5, and here's Rick DeBrewel.
All right, time to take a look at just exactly what happened, the result of that accident. Here's Gary Collins' car. Brad Gass, photographer, going to show you exactly what it looks like on the back. You see the damage that has been done. Now the question is, anything serious been done? Is it going to be a simple case of repairing and getting in? Let's talk with Gary Collins. Gary, let's start off and talk about exactly what happened.
Well, you know, 5 laps for me, and I'm going to be politically correct on this, but, you know, it's a shame that people have to drive like that out there with 5 laps to go. We have another 75. He didn't have anything for us, just got us in traffic and turned us around, and, you know, it's a shame because I tell you what, this community recycling car was hauling ass, you know.
How's that car feel now that it's been hit? Was there too much damage?
Well, I haven't got up to speed on it yet, so it don't feel like anything on the suspension's damaged, so we're going to try to beat the deck lid down to get some air on the spoiler, and we're going to go back to the front.
All right, Gary Collins, you can see trying to get things back together. We're going to step to the next car over, which just happens to be Gary Smith, who was also involved in that particular accident. He's sitting in here trying to think about all the chances he had and what he's going to do now. Gary, how does the car feel? How much damage was done?
I'm not sure. I can't see the car back there, but I think we'll be all right. These guys are a good team, and we'll get back out there and
charge to the front if we can.
Now, you've obviously talked an awful lot with your dad, who was a 4-time champion. Did he ever tell you what to do in this situation?
Well, no, not really. When the guy's spinning in front of you, you don't have much chance, but at least it's the back of the car and didn't hurt the radiator, so we'll go after him in the second half.
Great learning experience for Gary Smith getting a start out here at Tucson. Crew's working on the car. We're going to look for some other guys while we throw it back to Bob Jenkins.
And in the meantime, we will take a look at exactly what happened there in the closing laps that caused all the discussion.
You can see the 38 car just drifted up. As he drifted the front end up, he just clipped the rear of Collins and spun him around. I mean, you know, obviously wasn't intentional, but he did just move up the racetrack just enough to barely catch him. And when he did that, he spun him right on around. You can see right there, just moved up. Front end was just pushing, and just too much speed. Got up there, just barely clipped the rear end of him. Spun Collins around. Around comes Smith. He got tagged in the back end and put him in. If they had missed each other, they'd be a lot better off. But that damage might cause them some trouble later on. Here's some real time. This is exactly what happens from inside the race car, and things are happening pretty quick. You can't see very good either.
That's for sure. You just got to take your chances. He went to the outside, found a hole, and everything is okay with Bill McAnally, who's carrying our onboard camera. So it is halfway in the Winston West Series opener for 1997. We'll be back in just a moment.
The first International Winter X Games on ESPN and ESPN2, presented by Pringles.
Play Pringles Slam the Stack game. Just eat, look inside, and you can instantly win.
A what? Huh?
A grand prize extreme sports vacation in places like Snowbird, Utah.
Hey.
If you think this is hard to handle, just look at some of these other first prize gear packages you can instantly win. Play Pringles Slam the Stack. There's over 25,000 prizes, so start slamming.
Thank you. Today, people who didn't send the money Western Union and the heartbreak it caused. Why the disguise, mystery guest?
I blew it.
Can you share with us?
My mom needed money.
And you didn't use Western Union?
Right. So to get the money, she had to hitchhike across 3 counties. Took 2 pickups and an 18-wheeler.
That's no way to treat your mama, man.
And how does Mom feel? My own son.
Hey, it's your money. Use Western Union, the fastest way to send money worldwide.
Meet the lowest thing.
Is that a compliment or what?
To hit the upper class.
You can take her upstairs. She's ready now.
Rodney Dangerfield in Meet Wally Sparks. Rated R. Starts Friday, January 31st.
A look at the mountains and the desert surrounding Tucson Raceway Park, located about 10 miles to the southeast of downtown Tucson. That's been the site of NASCAR ESPN2 Winter Heat for the last 6 of 8 weekends. It's our final race of the Winter Heat Series. Well, coming up right after our show here this afternoon, women's NCAA basketball. Last year, Western Kentucky got taken behind the woodshed in their 2 meetings with Louisiana Tech, losing by a combined 60 points. So it's revenge time, possibly. Western Kentucky and Louisiana Tech at 5 o'clock Eastern Time today, right after our coverage of this event. The location is Ruston, Louisiana. Well, Butch Gilliland with a little bit of contact on Gary Collins there, close to the 75-lap mark. Let's go to Rick.
What was going to be a fairly routine series of pit stops has turned into an emergency room. Butch Gilliland getting the final preparations done so we can go back out. Let's talk about the accident that's now going to move you to the back of the pack. What happened?
Well, I was in second place. I was in 5th, I think, and we ran up to 2nd, and Gary Collins was in 1st, and he was real loose, and I was losing my brakes. And I just got in the corner and just barely touched him, and it just enough to send him around.
You're going to go to the back of the pack. Do you have enough to move back up?
Yeah, I do. The car's really great. On a long run, I just kind of showed my little of the muscle it has at the end. I was just running in 5th. It has enough to go right back to the front.
An optimistic Butch Gilliland. We're going to go down just a couple of cars to where Sean Woodside, who was going to be in 2nd place at the restart, is now going to find himself starting in 1st place as a result of the change to Butch Gilliland going to the back. And well, you know, we talked at the beginning, you were in 2nd place, we were talking about pressure. Suddenly the race has come to you. How do you hold on to it?
I guess just keep riding, doing what we're doing. You know, Mike Stewart just said keep the tires under it, and we're just riding, and looks like things are starting to go our way in the Pontiac.
So what is it like out there? For all those fans who've never been in it, this is your first time racing out here in one of these cars. How difficult a transition is it?
Well, the cars are a lot different, but it's pretty darn easy to drive with the way Mike sets them up. But you know, with Golden West Motorsports and everybody behind us, makes it that much easier.
All right, you're now in the lead. You turn aggressive, do you hang on to it? What do you do to fight to keep it?
We kind of try to keep the tires under it for about 50 laps, and then the last 25, try and stretch it out and see who's left to race with.
Sean Woodside anxious for that last 25-lap sprint.
Woodside will lead him down for the green flag in just a few minutes. Well, before we came on the air, the limited late models had their feature event of the day, and there is the winner of the event with a big kiss for the trophy girl. That is Chuck Wares, and congratulations to Chuck, who won the limited late model support race here at Tucson Raceway Park earlier today. And we'll show you the top 5. As the limited late models put on a very good show for the fans gathered here this afternoon. Probably our biggest crowd of the Winter Heat Series has come to see the Winston West opener for 1997. And here's another guy that was involved in that fracas, Larry Gunselman. He's with Rick.
Well, Larry Gunselman was indeed involved in a number of things during that first half, and talking with him right now. Larry, a lot of people have been pointing a finger at you saying, well, you've been involved in a few melees out there, a few of the taps. Just racing action, or has there been a problem?
Well, the car, I had to come all the way from the back of the pack, so I had to abuse my tires pretty bad to get up there, and the car got a little loose after the tires went away, and I had to go under these guys and push up the racetrack, and I think they didn't give me quite as much room as they could have, so I got into a couple of people, not too hard. And, a lot of that's just racing. I didn't intentionally get into anybody.
Now, one other thing, you now start in second with a rookie in front of you. How do you take advantage of that?
Well, I think I can shake him up a little bit. Sean Woodside's a good friend of mine, and I wish him all the luck in the world, but I'll see if I can't psych him out a little bit.
You know, Larry Gunselman's had some bad luck at this track. He's anxious to turn that around.
Looks like the cars are getting fired up and heading back for the racetrack. Now, here is the portion of the incident just before the halfway break that Gunselman was involved in.
Yeah, he just ran into the back. Everybody was out of the throttle. He ran into the back of Smith and turned him around. Again, something that just happens when you're racing. He didn't do that intentionally, I'm sure, but just hit Smith hard enough that turned him around, and that's what caused the damage on both cars, really.
Well, we're just going to see what NASCAR decides to do now. They tell us that Collins will be on the lead lap and restarting at 11th position. 11 cars are on the lead lap when we go back to green in a moment. The Winston West Series 150, and the cars, as you can see from the tether cam, have gone back onto the racetrack. Let's get a summary of what happened back there from Rick DeBrule.
Well, before we get to that, we got to talk about some really important stuff. One of the cars out here is sponsored by Golden Gate Meats up in the Bay Area, Golden Gate Racing Team. With me is Joan Gallagher from the California Culinary Academy. You thought Benny Parsons was going to be here, so you got a little special treat for him, right?
Indeed, I did. We did a replica of his original car. We did a replica of his original car in chocolate.
All in chocolate.
All in
and you know what? We're not going to save him a single piece.
No, we're not. He's not here. He doesn't get any.
Larry, did you hear that? We're ready for you to get some food down here.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
That is very well done, and we salute and thank the California Culinary Academy for their hard work. But sorry, it's going to be eaten, and BP, you're not going to get a bite. Well, let's go back once again and take a look at the incident that concluded the first half of this event.
Well, it's just a case where Gilliland pushed up the racetrack, barely made contact, just enough. As he said, Collins was a little loose, the tires were old, didn't take much contact. There's where the real damage was done, though. When Smith backed into him, it damaged both cars. I think it's cosmetic. I hope it is, because it'd be a tough break for both those guys if the race cars didn't handle very well after this, because they were both running very, very good.
Doesn't take much to send a car out of control when you're traveling that fast. There's the contact between Smith and Gary Collins and the resultant damage. Well, let's take a look at the full field summary at the midway point, and we understand that NASCAR has reversed their decision and will put both of those cars that were involved in the incident, Smith and Collins, at the tail end of the lead lap.
Big thing is Bill Sedgwick came away the winner in that little crash up there. He got around everybody in front of him, and he's the leader now. I saw him leading the pack kind of after a couple of laps down there, but I wasn't sure who was in the lead. I was watching the crash, wasn't paying much attention, but he is the leader right now, and good break for him.
The cars are rolling after a couple of warm-up laps. They'll get green, and we'll be back to racing from Tucson Raceway Park. Stay with
yellow as the leader, and that's where he is right now.
Well, Bill Sedgwick, ESPN Tower, we're looking to come back one at the line here. Real briefly, the front end of your race looks pretty good. You also made it on the low end of the racetrack to get the lead in this thing.
Yeah, just defensive driving. You know, this Blatchley Chevrolet is, they give me opportunity to drive this thing. It's real tight in the middle of the corner. And just got to do what I can, take advantage of every situation that comes up. Looking forward to finishing the race good.
All right, we've got a hot run in Sean Woodside behind you. We're about to go green. Good luck with the race.
Thank you.
We're working with a manual scoring system here this afternoon, and we apologize for confusion, but decisions are changed. Smith, Collins, and Gilliland are all on the lead lap at the back of the line for the lead lap cars.
And Sedgwick doing a terrific job.
Oh, we have contact down here. Obrist is involved, and also Ron Burns. The 26 and the 12, a couple of other cars stop. Ron Esau and Smith stopped, but they weren't involved in the incident.
They stalled their cars. They're just sitting there trying not to lose a lap as they take off here. And unfortunately, it looks like both of them have lost a lap. We'll see what the scorers say about that.
Yeah, I think so. Neither Obrist nor Burns did lose a lap. They were able to get started before the leaders came around. Here's a replay of what happened. It occurred in the middle of the pack. The green number 26 got into Obrist, and they both spun around.
Just wasn't enough room. They tried to go 3 wide. Burns got into him a little bit. They spun around. They got going pretty quick. Burns pulled that car here on an open trailer. First open trailer I've seen at a racetrack for quite a while.
Man, that was so great to see. Days gone by. That, by the way, is a former Kenny Bernstein NASCAR Winston Cup car that finished 5th at Las Vegas last year. The second half of this race was barely underway when we had a crash involving Obrist and Ron Burns in car number 26. Let's take a look at it. Just as the green came out and they raced down into turn number 1, there was contact between the two. They spun, and also a couple of other cars. Here's a look at it.
You can see back towards the back of the screen right there. They were trying to go 3 wide. They were trying to get around the 43 car there of Kenny Smith, and they just made contact. Then they slid up the racetrack. Everybody had to get on the brakes and stop, and caused some big problems for Smith.
There go the 2 cars that spun initially. Now, Gary Smith and Ron Esau will stop behind them, and they did lose a lap, so they'll be starting to the inside of those on the lead lap here in just a moment. The yellow flag remains out, however, as the lineup is not correct yet.
Well, some of the lap cars are having trouble getting in position. Of course, the 2 cars, Esau and Smith, when they got lapped, they think they should be at the front of the field. And, of course, the 16 car there, Bill McAnally, he figures he should be up there. So they're going to battle that out a little bit. And we see some of the other guys down there that are being lapped, they're swapping a little paint on the yellow flag as well.
Here's Rick DeBrule.
Just want to fill you in on some of the damage reports as a result of our little halftime break. Start off, talk about Gary Collins and Gary Smith. Both of them, as you remember, ran into each other, backed into each other, I guess the best way to describe it. And talking with the crew chiefs on both cars, they say it's body damage, nothing suspension, nothing major. How well the car is going to work is another thing, but from their standpoint, they say it should be okay to go back out there and do a good job. As for Scott Gaylord, he was having the problem with that right front tire smoke in the first half. Crew says not only have they fixed that, but that just before the halfway point, a spark plug wire had come off, and that's what was dropping him back. So it was a perfect time to put that back on, do the adjustments, send him back out to really do battle in the second half.
So that explains why he dropped back so much there in the late stages of the first half.
7 cylinders is not good on a racetrack like this.
Yeah, he had showed early that he had a very strong car. He was ready to bid for the lead, and then things started to go away on him a little bit.
Green flag is out. McAnally is the first car on the inside in the line that involves the lapped car, so that's how they got that situation straightened out. Now Esau comes up the racetrack and drops in between the first and second place cars of Sedgwick and Woodside.
Yeah, Esau moved up there. He's trying to get his lap back. He went back on that lead lap. He thinks he's got a pretty fast race car right now. And when he moved up, he had just a little contact with Woodside. Woodside had to get out of the throttle a little bit.
There is Esau in the red car number 3. He's a lap down, but trying to make up his lap here and staying within about a car length of the leader of the race, Bill Sedgwick.
Yeah, Sedgwick right now really has everything going his way with that lap car in between he and Woodside. It gives him a little bit of breathing room, and he's running a little bit different line than anybody else. He seems to be running into the corners a little bit lower and then coming up the racetrack instead of going in high and following that high groove all the way around.
Bill Sedgwick is a 2-time NASCAR Winston West champion, won the title in 91 and 92 after being named the Rookie of the Year in the season in 1989.
that ADL, the sponsorship on that car, that company has patents on several satellites. I don't know exactly what they are, but several different patents on satellite parts that bring you the satellite coverage here and in your home.
Yeah, that's right. Every satellite apparently that is manufactured contains a part that they have the trademark or copyright on, and so or patent on, and so pretty good business.
I would think so. Whether they're selling those satellite dishes at $150 a whack, you get a buck off every one of those, you're doing okay.
That's right.
You know, guys, at the halfway point, Butch Gilliland was talking about being confident to get through the field and come back to the front. He's starting to do so from the rear of the field, but right off the green flag, he ended up in the tail end of Kenny Smith in the 43 car and put a little more damage on the front end of his number 38. I'm not sure what effect that will or won't have on it, but he's now starting to carve his way through the field.
There is Gary Smith in car number 45. He is a lap down and was not successful, as successful as Ron Esau was when the green flag came out to position himself to get the lap back. He's running 5th on the racetrack at the moment.
Yeah, it's a tough break for him. He's going to have a tough time. As we take a look here at second place. Man, oh man, no, that's not second place. That's farther back in the field.
I think it's for 3rd, yeah. It is Collins, Gaylord, and Joe Bean that are all running nose to tail, sometimes side by side.
And he has come back and forth. Gary Collins, after starting clear back in the back of the pack, either 11th or 12th. I'm not sure exactly how far back he did start, but he's already back up to 4th. He told us at the halfway point that he had a plenty good race car and he could get back through it. Well, he's proving that right now.
Now the battle is for 5th position. The inside car number 7 is Joe Bean. The outside is Scott Gaylord.
Whoa,
and there's contact. Whoa.
Yeah, you can see the contact there. The smoke fly is Bean just moved up the racetrack just a little bit. There wasn't enough room for him to move up that much and made some contact. Doesn't look like any tire damage resulted, which it could have very easily.
Don't see any smoke coming from the car, but we'll keep an eye on that for you. Let's take another look at it. Maybe we can tell how severe it was.
Yeah, both of them just running back there. It just looked like Bean just kept moving up just ever so slightly, and contact was made. It certainly was not intentional. But I tell you what, when you make contact like that, wheel to wheel, it does give you an awful good chance of cutting down a tire. And, oh, right there is where it happened. There wasn't any place for Gaylord to go. I mean, he couldn't go any closer to the fence. He was going to hit it. So it's just one of those things.
It bent the sheet metal there behind the left front tire. You can see it, but I don't think it bent it in such a manner as to cause it to rub on the tire. So perhaps things are okay for Scott Gaylord.
Yeah, Joe Bean has pulled out into several car lengths lead over him now once he did make that pass. So he seems to have his car working very well this second half of the race.
Up front, it is the number 9 car. Oh, we have a car spinning over in turn number 2, bringing out a caution. It's right in front of the leader. That's Kenny Smith in car number 43. And the caution flag is out. And Esau is not going to be able to make up his lap as the caution does come out. The spinner was number 43, Kenny Smith, and he is the guy that walked away with $22.8 million when he won the California lottery.
Not a bad deal. I'd like to have the .8, let alone the rest of it.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, he had to get on the binders hard because the cars in front of him were slowing down. He ends up the victim, if you will. Hitting the binders, car got out from underneath him, and around he went.
Kenny hails from El Monte, California. His best Winston West finish here at Tucson, 20th, back in 1984. They're the top 5. We'll be back in a moment. Lap and a half, and not a great deal has happened as the number 9 car of Bill Sedgwick continues to lead, but Sean Woodside now begins to give him quite a challenge in that blue car.
And look at Collins on the inside. He's gotten around into 3rd position. He's moved up past Gunselman. Now he's trying to get around Esau, who is a lapped car, but boy, is he on the move. I think maybe he got a little shot of adrenaline when he got spun there in that first race, because boy, if he's not using up his tires too much, if he hasn't used them up already in this move all the way from 12th up to 3rd, then he's going to be tough to handle this last part of the race.
108 laps completed out of 150. Here comes a field summary for you. Sedgwick is the leader of the race after having started 9th.
Battle for the lead.
And now Woodside comes to the inside of Sedgwick, battling for the lead. There's contact in 4.
Well, he's been kind of sitting there just biding his time, taking it easy. But now that he sees Collins moving up, he doesn't want to wait any longer. He doesn't want Collins as fast. He's real contact. Oh, all three of the leaders.
And a hard hit. Bean runs into Woodside, and they have severe damage. Other cars spin behind, and others are able to avoid the fracas. Some of them go to the inside, kick up the sand, but we have had a real serious incident here.
Man, oh man, that's a tough break, as it looks like both of those Cinema vehicle service cars were involved in that, and that is the 7 car of Joe Bean with all the smoke that's coming out of it. He sits down there, and of course his teammate Sean Woodside was right in the middle of it, right up front. But Collins is the recipient this time. Yep. He's now in the lead.
He is going to be the leader, I believe, when we go back. Here it is once again.
They just both went in there. You know, it's hard to tell who went up, who went down, but they made heavy contact entering there. Collins hard on the brake on the outside. He went ahead and got through, but it was Joe Bean that came in there and tagged somebody, and he along with Gaylord that had some heavy contact.
There is Ron Burns in the green 26 also spinning.
Yeah, that's the toughest thing. Watch what happens here. You know, your leader Woodside in the 07 goes to the inside, and his teammate comes in trying to get out of the way, and they end up taking both of the cars to heavy damage.
Boy, Gunselman got in that. He had a little contact there, too, with the front end of his car, so there was just no place to go. 2 cars sitting end to end up there. I mean, everybody was trying to miss them, but there just wasn't much way to do it.
Yep. And the red is out. Yeah, the red has come out. They're going to save the laps and make the cleanup there in turns 3 and 4 where the big incident occurred. And so the cars will be taken over to around to the backstretch and will stop. Quickly, a report from Rick DeBrule.
Down here with Bill Sedgwick. Want to get your viewpoint of just exactly what happened. This was the race. You would come right to you, and then what happened?
Well, we were running 2 abreast there pretty good. Sean, he's a good racer. Looked like somebody got into the back of him and knocked him into me or something. I don't know. It's I had the outside grooves a little higher. I can't go any higher, you know. And it's just unfortunate, you know, actually racing.
Was it just a rookie mistake, do you think?
No. Sean's a good racer. It wasn't his fault.
Just a racing accident.
What happened?
Let's talk about the damage to your car. Can you tell how bad?
They said we're done.
Is that it? You're done for the day. Well, it's been a pleasure racing with you today. Bill Sedgwick, very calmly, going to have to get out of this car. He says the center link apparently on the front suspension is bent. That's going to put him out of the race. Doesn't look bad, but underneath, it's a big problem.
Well, a nice attitude there by Bill, who may have been able to win this race, but unfortunately was involved in an accident that has taken him out. We'll be back with more racing from Tucson Raceway Park. Everybody scrambles. Lance Wade, by the way, got up on somebody and almost turned over. We saw that when we took a look at the replay once again. But there is the original contact and the spin. Collins gets trapped. Gunselman has contact. And Bean just nails his teammate. There is Lance Wade in the white number 95 that had got up on somebody's left rear and almost turned over.
Yeah, it's... I'll tell you what, they really had some hard contact. There were several hard hits in the middle of that crash, and obviously it's taken out several of the good race cars, too.
Bill McAnally drove through it. We watch from his onboard camera. And he's one of those that went to the desert.
He locked up the brakes. The engine completely died there for a second. He's on the brakes so hard, and then he went on down in there. And there was another one. Ron Esau spun up here on the other end while everything was happening up in turns 3 and 4.
Wow. Well, let's go to Rick DeBrule for another report.
Well, this is what the front end of Sean Woodside's car looks like. Looks a lot worse than Bill Sedgwick's, but in talking with the crew, they say they think this one is fixable. You know, we've been spending way more time with Sean Woodside than we had expected today. Let's talk about what happened from your point of view in that accident.
Just a racing deal, going for the lead, and we got together and tore up some race cars, unfortunately. But Golden West Motorsports guys with Pontiac and Firebird Oils behind us, we should be okay. We'll get back out there and get some points. And it's just a shame. We had a good run. It's almost like when you find out you win, you know, lottery, but you didn't have the right numbers. You're one off. That's how I feel right now.
Now, we were talking earlier today about what a learning experience this race is going to be. What have you learned so far?
Driver in deeper.
Sean Woodside hoping they can get him back out to do something.
Tough luck, though, for Woodside, and I'm sure that he's going to have a great season, but his start is not a good one. And there is his teammate, Joe Bean, and he made heavy contact with Woodside. Well, the guy who benefited from all of this, as you said, Larry Rice, was Gary Collins. He had misfortune at the tail end of the first segment, but watch this and how he gets by. He goes up high, and it looked originally as if he hit the wall or hit something, but he didn't. He got through completely unscathed.
He barely made it through. He got on the brakes just hard enough, and it looked like, who was that? Woodside or Cedric One slid down the racetrack, just gave him enough room to sneak through there, and very lucky break for him, because he could have been right in the middle of that with one of those bent front ends like we see right there on Larry Gunselman's car.
And so, Gaylord, or rather Collins, I should say, in the number 28 machine, may have a win after all. Looked bad for him for a while. It does not look good for the left rear of this 00 car driven by Scott Gaylord.
Yeah, under this red flag, NASCAR is, designated that they cannot do any work on the car while the track is red. So Gaylord's sitting there waiting for an opportunity to get some work done on the rear end of that car, but everyone is just sitting still at the moment under the rules that the NASCAR has posted. Now the yellow is coming up, and we're going to start seeing things happening.
Now here's what happened down in turn number 1 after everything had occurred down in turn number 4. Esau spins and makes contact with Gunselman.
Gunselman got hit on both ends of the racetrack. He couldn't buy a break on that deal, let me tell you. He ran right smack into one of the cars on the other end, comes around here, Esau spins and runs into the side of him. So,
man,
tough break.
Okay, let's take a look at the top 10 here as we go to break. The cars are rolling once again, so we'll be back to green flag competition before too long. Hang in there.
Well, it's always a great time, and I know you get to go down there and stay the whole time, don't you?
Well, you darn right. Get out of the cold. 116 laps about to be complete. Now, these laps are counting after the red flag. That is not the way it was in the Featherlight Southwest Tour race, but it is the procedure during the NASCAR Winston West races. These laps are counting, and so we're 116 of 150 complete. Quickly, a report before we go green from Rick.
I'm going to open up a body shop down here, guys. There's a lot of work going on. Gary Smith just came in. They bent more body work out of the way, sent him back out. They said no problem with overheating, just overheating drivers and frustration. That's where they're feeling.
I can imagine there's a lot of that out there, overheated inside the car instead of inside the cockpit particularly.
6 cars on the lead lap as we go back to competition, and Gary Collins is up front once again. He led most of the first half of the race, was involved in an incident in the closing stages of the first 75 laps, and now he benefits from that incident that eliminated just about all major competition for him.
Boy, he sure did benefit from it. When he just snuck through that one little hole, it made such a big difference as everybody else, including the second-place car, Gunselman, had heavy contact and are, you can see the effects of a Gunselman has fallen back. Oh, and you can see the tire rubbing on Ron Esau's car where the body work has come back into that tire, and that tire's not going to last too long with it rubbing like that.
Yeah, Esau is not on the lead lap, and
neither is Gilliland. Gilliland lost the lap too. He went back into the pits, so he's trying also to get that lap back so he can get back up in the thick of things.
He will get the black flag here if he doesn't go to the pit area, and he is going. So Ron Esau goes back to the pits.
It looks like Collins has pulled out into several car-length lead, almost a half a straightaway lead, as Gunselman tries to hang on. But that's Wayne Jacks, who is coming up now and battling Gunselman for third position.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how well Gunselman lasts, or how long he lasts, I should say. He's got some sheet metal damage on the front end and some smoke starting to pour out of the passenger side of the car.
So there is the leader, Gary Collins. Gunselman, or rather Gilliland in 38, is not on the lead lap, so that is not a battle for position. Here is the battle for second. That's Jackson, 89 on the inside, and Gunselman in 37. Battling for second spot.
And Culver right behind him. He's also in the lead lap, and he's right in that battle for second spot, too. We haven't talked much about Jackson Culver, but they've hung in there. They've stayed on the lead lap. Now then their chance is coming, as you can see they're right behind Larry Gunselman and really putting some pressure on him.
Gunselman ran a limited Winston West schedule the last 5 years and finished 13th here at Tucson in his Winston West best performance. Once again, a report from Rick DeBrule on more of the body work that's going on down there.
Well, I got my first supplies for that body shop I'm going to open up down here. Ron Esau came in about 10 seconds. They ripped this off the front of the end of the car. You can see it's a little fiberglass. They threw it off, sent him back out onto the track. In the meantime, Scott Gaylord has come in. They're going to go to work on him. It's just Body Work Central, and they're trying to do what they can to keep these guys running. Even if they can't win, they want points.
Caution is out once again. That's Dan Obrist in car number 12 that came to a stop down in turn number 1, but he was able to get the car going and is back in the garage area.
He had a flat left rear tire. You can see that left rear was just completely flat as he pulled to a stop down there. And as he was doing that, also Butch Gilliland in the 38 car, he put the brakes on very hard when we headed into the pit area. I thought he had a chance to maybe get back on the lead lap, but he's been back in the pit area again and lost all chance of finishing well in this race.
And Rick has more on that.
In fact, I can talk about Butch Gilliland. He's having a problem with overheating. They brought him in a few moments earlier, tried to pull some of the shrouding off to cool it down. Now they are in the pits working on the car, working on the front, the radiator, trying to get it so he can go back out and not keep overheating. That problem far more serious than any of the bodywork problems that all the other teams have been having. You can see the crew desperately trying to solve this problem, but I got news for you. Right now, it doesn't look good.
So the restart is just moments away as everybody is getting into their correct restart formation. We're watching from Bill McAnally's onboard camera. There is the work that's going on back in the pit area. Here's the green flag about to come out. Gary Collins, Gunselman is second. And then the 25 of Culver, then Jacks. And that may be it, huh, on the lead lap?
I think those 4 cars are probably the only ones. I think 78 car of Pruitt, I think he's a lap down. So those 4 cars are the only ones left after all that melee and carnage in that one big crash.
And I don't think there's going to be much of a contest for the lead as Gary Collins has things pretty much in hand. However, there's going to be a terrific fight back for second, third, and fourth spot.
Yeah, Kevin Culver, who's been almost very obscure most of this race, even though he hung in there, he's really putting some pressure on Gunselman. Now, as you see down the inside, Smith trying to get that lap back. He's still in there battling, even though he's a lapper, maybe 2 laps down by now.
I'm sorry, Bob. Go ahead. I was going to say just the battle of the cars with all the tape on the rear end holding them together. From all the, beginning of the season, they come in here, these cars are mint condition, and they're getting pretty beat up by the end of this one.
Yeah, that was the thing that impressed me most this morning as I walked back through the pit area. A lot of new equipment, a lot of shiny cars, but not anymore.
Now, it doesn't take long when you're in this business to make beautiful race cars into pretty junky-looking pieces of equipment, actually.
Once again, there is the battle for second and third. 3 cars. 37 is Gunselman, 25 is Culver, and the 89 car is Wayne Jacks.
Yeah, Culver's been following Gunselman around there, trying to figure out if there's any way he can get to the bottom side of the racetrack. Both of them, though, neither one of them seem to be able to work down on that bottom side. As I say that, he heads down there, and they make contact a little bit.
Oh, they sure did.
Gunselman's been banged into by just about everybody he's gotten close to here tonight.
Oh, we have a spin. Woodside and Esau tangle in turn number 1.
Well, Woodside, of course, he was in the pit area. He lost several laps while he was getting some repairs made. He came back out, looked to be very fast, and was trying to move back up in the field, and I think probably just some contact there as he went together with Esau.
Yeah, you do have to wonder just exactly how the handling was on Woodside's car coming back in, and I think we just found out in turns 1 and 2 there.
We understand that the 45 car of Gary Smith did get his lap back in the race to the caution. Here is a replay.
That's Wayne Jacks down there. He is one of the contenders for the second spot in there. You can see that Esau just comes down. Woodside got on the brakes very hard, tried to miss him, but Esau just turned hard left. There was no way for Woodside to miss him, and they just made contact.
Here's another angle. That is Culver in the 25, and behind him, the 2 cars make contact, both able to keep going, however.
Esau's getting real good at doing that complete spin. Just keep going, isn't he?
138 laps completed. We've got 12 to go in Winter Heat. NASCAR ESPN2 Winter Heat Series for 96-97, and what a great series it has been. Let's go down to Rick DeBrule.
Well, Joe Bean says he's run everything from motocross, swimming, Atlantics, Winston. This is the weirdest race you say you've ever been in.
Oh, by far. I'll tell you what, we're doing nothing but dodging wrecks out there today. I've never seen a West Coast race like this before. It's been unbelievable.
And you had the ultimate nightmare looking up and seeing your teammate in front of you.
Oh, absolutely. We had a great car. The Golden West Motorsports car was just hooked up the second half, just like we intended.
I turned the car down to try and avoid Sean spinning, and boy, we just T-boned him hard.
What's going on out there today?
You know, I don't know. I think maybe a lot of new first race jitters or something. I don't have any explanation for it. I'll tell you, the track's pretty good, and there's a lot of good drivers out there. Just a lot of things are going wrong.
Now you're looking forward to race number 2.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get our sights set for Altamont, and the Golden West Pontiac is doing that team is just unbelievable. They've done just a great job for me, and as you know, this deal was put together real last minute, and they've really put a great car together for us. So we're excited for the next race.
Hopefully Sean Woodside won't be in his sights either, though.
Joe Bean, a 34-year-old driver from San Diego. One of the cleanest cars out there. Everybody has a little bit of damage. Might be our onboard camera, Bill McAnally. Look how he avoids things here in this incident.
I tell you what, that's all luck and no sense or something like that. You just went to the right place at the right time.
Another clean car out there. Everybody has a little bit of damage or a donut, but the 25 car of Kevin Culver that is running in 3rd position is also pretty clean at the moment. Up front, it is Gary Collins and Larry Gunselman.
I'm going to tell you what, Gary Smith is back on the lead lap. He's in 5th in that line, and he might have something for Collins if he can get around some of this lap traffic. He was very fast early in the race, and look at him, he's going right to the bottom trying to gain some spots.
Well, Smith may be a contender yet. He's down to the inside. He's already passed Wayne Jacks. Now he moves up the racetrack and passes Kevin Culver, and Smith is now 3rd. Wayne Jacks goes to the bottom also to pass Culver.
Wow, Smith made a really neat move on that restart. Got around 2 cars in less than 2 corners and really did a nice job. He's going to get no contact. He didn't get turned around. I thought sure he was going to get turned around there.
So did I. I thought sure we were going to have another spin, but now Smith heads for the bottom and comes up the racetrack and is 2nd. And we have a crash as Gunselman and Jacks and Culver all crash here in turn 1.
Gunselman got into the fence coming out there. I think he thought that Smith was going to run into him. And look at Smith. He's going down there trying to get the lead. Coming down to the yellow. Can't quite do it, though. Oh, man. These guys were battling everywhere. Smith racing back to the yellow. Almost got around Collins coming back. So there was action everywhere in that corner.
And remember what we told you in the opening stages of the event. This race can end under caution. Yeah, look at Gunselman hard into the wall coming off 4.
And Jacks just got on the binders real hard trying to miss him, and there went Culver as well. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th all taken out in that one crash. Poor old Gunselman, I don't think he actually got hit, but I think he thought it was so close. Let's take a look from this angle, see if he gets touched. No, I don't really think he got touched, but he was moved so far up on the racetrack, he got up in the gray, and the front end just pushed right into the fence.
Yeah, and then as he went down into turn 1, his thing went up and smacked the wall again when he pretty well broke up his front end and the handling on the race car.
And he's still out there.
Well, yeah, he's still going. Well, there's not many laps left. Look at the right front. It's not even turning.
It's not even turning, yeah.
He's got that thing. He's not going to be able to last too long with that thing dragging like that. He's going to have to go back and get it fixed with a black flag in one or the other.
We can end under caution. When they come around this time, it'll be completing lap 148. So, I don't know. I hope we can have at least one lap of green flag to see if Gary Smith has anything for Gary Collins.
Well, yeah, it'd be tough to end this thing after Smith has battled his way back from a lap down to have a chance of getting around Collins. And I'll tell you what, if he does have just one lap, it'll be one heck of a lap.
Looks like we're going green the next time around, so it will be a green and white flag, both displayed next time around. Gary Collins is the leader of the race. Gary Smith is 2nd. Wayne Jacks is 3rd. Kevin Culver is in 4th position. And Gunselman is in 5th. He's still 5th, despite the fact that the right front tire won't turn, and he's just going very slowly.
They black flagged him. He's going to stay out there. He knows there's only one lap to go, and he knows if he pulls in, he's going to lose a bunch of spots. I don't blame him. I'd stay out there, too.
Here we go. Let's see what happens. Green and white waving. This is the final lap of the race. Let's watch Gary Smith in the red number 45 and see if he has anything for Gary Collins. They come off the 2nd corner.
Well, you can bet he's going to go right to the bottom of the racetrack and try to do some sort of a big slide job. Doesn't look like he's got enough. Collins is fast enough, hangs on, and he actually wins a well-deserved victory here, but you got to give Smith a lot of credit. He gave it everything he had.
He fought all afternoon right till the closing lap, and Gary Collins is the winner of the race, his 2nd career Winston West victory. He completed his 5th race at TRP and continued his streak of 5 straight top 10 finishes at this facility. We'll talk with Gary Collins in a moment.
58, Lee Petty raced for the first time with his son Richard. His last title came in 1959 driving a Plymouth. Lee Petty ran his last race in 1964. Petty's spirit and integrity helped to establish stock car racing as a family-friendly sport. He remains the first competitor to win at least one race in each of NASCAR's first 7 seasons. Curtis Pops Turner has been dubbed the Babe Ruth of stock car racing. Learning to drive while outrunning federal agents for bootlegging, Turner was wild on and off the track. Throughout the late 50s, Turner could be found running in convertible races and anything the Grand National Circuit could throw at him. In 1957, he had 2 wins at Darlington at the Southern 500 and Rebel 300. Turner took the NASCAR Championship title in 1962. However, after a disagreement with NASCAR over unionizing drivers, Turner was banned for life by Bill France Sr. Refusing to leave racing, Turner ran the outlaw tracks and eventually the ARCA series throughout the early 60s. At Riverside in 1964, Curtis Turner lost his closest friend, Joe Weatherly. Devastated over his death, Turner left racing until he was welcomed back by NASCAR in July of 1965. His pursuit of greatness was cut short in October of 1970 by a plane crash. He said he bought the plane because there's no speed limit up there. Racing by his own rules and pushing his competitors to the edge, Curtis Turner's wild, competitive spirit propelled NASCAR to a new era of excitement. Fireball Roberts didn't get his nickname from stock car racing. Fireball came from his baseball pitch. However, few would argue that his racing style was any cooler. His career started in 1947, and before his death in 1964, he had won 32 Grand National races. In 1956, Roberts had 5 wins with Ford. The next year, they topped themselves with 7 Grand National victories. He won twice in the Southern 500, the first in 1958 and the second in 1963. Roberts' most coveted victory was the 1962 Daytona 500, where he also captured the 125-mile qualifying race. Fireball Roberts' death at Charlotte forced improvements in safety measures. The fiberglass flame retardant material that drivers found uncomfortable in their uniforms was redesigned. Fireball Roberts was one of the first superstars of stock car racing. His accomplishments can still be found in many places in the record books today. Richard Petty will undoubtedly be remembered as one of the very best stock car drivers of all time. His 7 championships, 200 NASCAR wins, and 7 Daytona 500 victories have already propelled him to legendary status. However, he's known worldwide not only for his racing ability, but for his role as the goodwill ambassador of NASCAR. Richard Petty started racing at the age of 21. Originally hoping to be a good mechanic, Petty wanted to build race cars, not drive them. However, with the help of his father, Petty soon discovered his talent. Entering the Daytona 500 in 1959, Richard was on his way. He destroyed 5 race cars in his first 15 events, but finally found success at the 1960 Daytona 500 with a 3rd-place finish.